Hey there, it's Graciela here. In today's video, we'll be learning how to automate GL coding for your AP invoices using AI prompts and Power Automate. So for this use case, what we are going to assume is that we are receiving our invoices through email and that they are being moved to this SharePoint site. So we are going to be receiving the invoices straight in SharePoint, and once these files or PDFs are uploaded into this invoices folder, we want to extract the information from the invoice, and we want to check what's the related expense and also who is the contact person to be able to know what is the company or which is the company, and as well which is the cost center. So you can see, for example, this one is built to Alex. So Alex is assigned to a company and a cost center. And here also, we also have some description of the cost or what the invoice is related to. So we are going to try the prompt to understand the lines and to return what's the related expense. Another example that we have here, this is another invoice that is built to Linda. She's the contact person in Power GI. So, and here there are some other expenses that we have that the invoice is related to. So we are going to, again, try to create a prompt that reads this information, and then it finds what's the type of expense and also tries to find who is the contact person and assign the company. So for that, we already have an Excel file, and this Excel file has two tabs. In one tab, we have the contact name. We have if this person is related to the operations team or if they are part of the admin team. And here we also have the company they are related to and the department name. So we are going to, for example, get Linda's name. We are going to see that she's in company 9101 and cost center 1010. And then to understand the GL accounts, we are just going to give, or we just have the GL code, the account number. We can see that operation costs start with 5 and admin costs start with 6. So we are going to have the prompt read the invoice content and then try to derive what's the right expense for the invoice. And for us to build the prompt, this can actually be done from any AI service that has chat completion features like OpenAI, for example. And Microsoft has many options to build this type of things. You can use, for example, Azure AI Foundry, or we can also use a Copilot prompt or AI Builder prompt. So in this case, we are going to be leveraging this option that is inside the Power Automate platform, but in reality, we could use any service that can receive a prompt, process it, and return a response. So in this case, we are going to go here. Once we are in the Power Automate portal, we just need to go to the AI Hub section. And here we will see all the resources that we have created that are related to AI. That can be document processing or analyzing sentiment and many things. In this case, I don't think I have anything in this environment. So we will be seeing an empty list, but regularly here you will see anything that you have created inside AI Builder for the environment. And then you see there are many options. In this case, what we care about is custom prompt. So we are going to click on prompt and we are going to click on build your own prompt. You can see that there are quite a few that are already pre-built. So for example, identifying sentiment analysis, that's a common use case. So that's why we have a pre-existing prompt, but we can either use one of these if we think that one of these matches our use case, or we can create our own prompt. And the prompts can receive many different type of inputs and also can return the outputs in different formats. So in this case, we are going to write a prompt and we are going to give the prompt to Copilot, so Copilot can quote-unquote optimize it for the prompt to be better. So in this case, I wrote this paragraph explaining that this person or this agent, is an AP analyst that assigns codes to invoices for a logistics company, so it knows, what is actually operations and what's admin. And we are going to receive as input number 1, a PDF invoice, number 2, a list of companies and the cost center, which is what we reviewed, and number 3, a list of GL accounts. Depending on the invoice content, we are going to extract the contact person. And I think we can change this, just extract the contact person from the invoice. And then we're going to compare it to the list and extract who is the person. Then we are going to analyze the content and classify it into its corresponding account. We are also asking to extract amount and invoice number. I'm going to actually move this to the end. And here there's an explanation that admin accounts should be used only with admin cost centers and operations account only with operation cost centers. Something that I missed here, we can say at least in JSON format, and same for a list of GL accounts in JSON format. Because remember that we have this list in Excel and we want it to be dynamic. For example, if there's a new cost center or we want to change who is the contact person, because people can leave the company or new cost centers can be added or new accounts can be added. So I don't think we want to hard code the list of accounts in the prompt. So it's better if we extract the information from Excel and send it to the agent dynamically every time the flow runs. If you think this list cannot change, then we can hard code it. But if you think, for example, that the list of contacts can change regularly, when you have backups, when someone is on vacation or something, or if you want another contact or for the same company and so, I think it's really useful to have it in an external source and just have it sent dynamically to the agent every time it runs. So we make sure it always has the most recent information. But I think we could do either or. So let's copy this and paste it here. And I think we exceeded the limit. So let's see. Let's try to make it shorter. Okay, so I recorded it a little bit using ChatGPT. So let's copy this and paste it here, and then let's hit on send. What this is going to do is it's going to take our prompt and it's going to kind of optimize it so Copilot can completely understand, and it's in a structure that makes sense for Copilot. So let's read what it gave us back. I tested this prompt already with less text than the one I had today, and it had some issues the first time I ran it. It didn't understand some of the instructions. That's what I updated them. So that's what I didn't. I had more text than the one that was allowed for the text input. And I see some parts are different from what it generated last time. So I think that that's one of the things about AI. It's that you don't always get the same results, even if you give it the same information or pretty similar information. But let's have a quick look to make sure that everything looks all right. Okay, so we see the first part is extracting the data from the invoice. We want to extract the contact name, invoice number, and the total amount. We want to match the contact to the company and cost center. That looks okay. We want to classify the expense. That's really important. This final explanation about when to use 5 and 6. And something that I think we're missing is we want to also add who is the contact person, because what we want to do is we want to extract the GL coding and also put it in this SharePoint list. So let's add here the contact person, because I missed to add this column into the SharePoint list. So I think it's important that we also return it in the output. You can see that the output is there and it's not listing the contact person. This view, it's quite difficult to edit. You can still edit later. So let's just finish just to make sure. We need to update that. Okay, let's see. I think something else that we should add is, in this case, we want to assign the whole invoice to just one line, because this is the way that this company works, for example. But if you want to add one account for each line in the invoice, like for example here in Linda's invoice, we have a few lines, we have 5 of them. If you wanted to assign 5 different accounts, that could also be done. And I would just make sure to add it as well in the prompt. So I think we're going to add that we just want one account per invoice and also add in the output. So everything else, I think it looks quite fine. We can see that we have the inputs, the PDF. It's recognized as a table, as a file. This one seems like a file too, but we can change it, and also the list of GL accounts. So let's skip it. And the first thing we're going to change is we are going to provide the extracted contact. Okay, and then the guideline. Okay, and here in the outputs, I will remove the notes, or I guess we could keep them and add the notes here just in case there's something that cannot be classified. But we need to add the contact person. That's going to be a string, and let's make sure to add it in the example that it will return. Let's say Melvin. And here we can, of course, we indicated that there's going to be three different inputs. One of them is the invoice. I think that one is correctly recognized. So I will upload my invoice. Let's, for example, download this one. Okay, and here, this one, it's being recognized as an actual JSON file. I don't think that's what we want. We want to send the actual text formatted as JSON. So I will remove these two. And for us to add new content, we can just add new content and then we say this is going to be a text. And something really important and really cool is that you can also connect it, for example, to Dataverse. In case, for example, your GL coding is linked to Dataverse or you have uploaded it there, you can also connect to Dataverse table. So I think that's pretty cool. In this case, we have it in Excel, so we want to extract it and then send it as a JSON. So let's call it a JSON contacts. And for now, we are testing, so we need to pass it as JSON. So what I will do is I will copy my table from Excel and I will ask ChatGPT to convert it to JSON. And then once it gives us the result, we can copy it here in the sample data. Because as you can see, here it's really important that we test our prompt and we make sure that it works, because this is what we're going to use in the workflow. So let's copy this and paste it here and then close. And then the GL accounts, that's going to be as well text, and let's call it JSON accounts. And let's do the same thing. I will just ask ChatGPT to convert this into a JSON. Okay, it's ready. So let's copy and paste. And I just realized I missed one account here for the operations. So I asked ChatGPT to convert again. So let's update our JSON accounts. Let's paste and then close. Okay, now let's test again. And okay, so this was for Andrea. As we can see here, this was for Andrea. So the company should be 9100 and then cost center 1000, which is warehouse operations. This one was done correctly. The only thing is that we need to change this to return the actual code and not the name. And then we can see the GL account starts with 5. Seems like this is office supplies for something related to their, probably vessels or something. So let's see, that's the correct account. And yeah, at least so far it seems to be working correctly. I guess we could try with another one. So let's try, for example, with Linda's invoice, or let's try this one, which had admin, to make sure it selects the correct account. Let's test again. Okay, let's see. Yes, I think I selected the Alex invoice, not Melvin's. So yeah, this is Alex. So Alex belongs to marketing and 4040. Let's see. That's correct. Marketing and the company is 9300. And let's see the invoice. This is related to training. It was assigned to 650000. So let's see. Yeah, it was assigned correctly. Okay, so now we need to add the output result cost center. We are going to ask return code, not name. And yes, let's change this to this so it knows it needs to return the code, and let's try again. Okay, now it seems like it's doing it correctly. It's adding the code for everything, so it seems like it's working okay. So let's hit on save. And I forgot to rename my prompt. So we're gonna do it in a bit. But for now, we can go to Power Automate and start a new workflow. If you already have a solution, you can start the workflow from the solution, or you can start a new workflow and then add it to the solution. Let's rename first. This would be GL coding assignment, and then save. Okay, let's go here to my flows, and then let's start a new one. Where this is going to be an automated cloud flow because we want it to run every time we add a new invoice into this folder that is called invoices. So in this case, we need to search for SharePoint when a file is created in a folder. No, that's deprecated. Yeah, this one when a file is created, and we are going to call it assigned GL code to invoice. And then let's create. And the first thing it's going to ask us what's the SharePoint site. In this case, this is the one we're working with. So we can just select it. The library name, it's called Accounting Automation. So we can also select it. And then let's limit this only to the folder that we care about, which is the invoices folder. That's Accounting Automations and then invoices. That way this workflow will only run for this one. Then we are going to extract the information from Excel, because remember that this list could be dynamic. Someone could come and change the contact or the GL accounts. So what we are going to use is the list rows in Excel. So list rows present in a table, and it's going to ask us pretty similar questions to the previous one. It's going to ask us where the file is, what's the table name, and all of that. And with that, we'll be able to work with it. Okay, so this is the SharePoint site library, and then the file is always going to be the same, GL coding, then the table name. This is table 1. I think we should rename it to contacts and these to accounts. For now, let's select this one, or we can also write context. And we're going to say this is for contacts. And then we are going to copy the action and paste it here. Let's use the connection we created. And this one is accounts. Let's try to remove it and add them back. Yeah, it's still not recognizing. So for now, let's write accounts. And let's rename here that this is for accounts. So let's save. Okay, now we can just call our prompt, which in this case should be showing up here at the top. If we are using the modern editor in Power Automate, it's here and it's called run a prompt. So when we select this action, it's going to list all the prompts that we have created in this environment. So in this case, we want to create a GL coding assignment. And once we select it, it's going to recognize the different inputs. So in this case, we have a JSON accounts, JSON contacts, and we can just pass the information from the corresponding Excel action. So in this case, it should be, well, it's not recognizing it, probably because it thinks they are not compatible. So let's fix that in a moment. For now, we need to add a new data operation. So this is also showing at the top in the built-in section. And for now, let's add here a compose. And here, let's select the item, the body value that comes from, in this case, this is accounts. So let's copy this and paste it into accounts. Now let's do the same and paste it and copy the body value of the context and paste it here. Now we need to extract the invoice content. In that case, we want to use the action that comes as well from SharePoint, where we extract the file content of something we have stored in SharePoint. So for that, let's look for the SharePoint action and let's click on see more. And we want to get the file content. And in this case, we need get file content, which is the one that we have here. And it's always going to ask us what's the SharePoint side and then the file identifier. So remember that we set up this trigger whenever we have something new in SharePoint. So this trigger has the information of what is the file or which is the file. So in this case, I can just look for the word ID in my dynamic content from Power Automate. And here I can select the identifier that comes from the trigger. And with that, it will be able to recognize. And let's rename this to PDF invoice. And finally, here we can, in the run a prompt, we can just select the file content. For now, let's test it to see if everything goes well. And if everything is recognized correctly, we'll just go ahead and add the values into our SharePoint list. I usually like having two different tabs of Power Automate, one where I can see the workflow and one where I can see the executions. So in this case, let's here on test, and I opened a new one so we can see when it starts. Let's start a manually triggered flow and let's test. It's going to wait for us to upload something. So let's copy Linda's invoice and upload it here to invoices. And this should trigger anytime soon. Okay, so it seems like it ran correctly. If I also see my executions, I see it's there. And yeah, we can see that the item was recognized correctly. We were able to extract the list of contacts. We can see that we have it here. In almost a similar format, we have two more attributes in the Excel document because that's the way Power Automate reads them. But it seems like this didn't cause any issue in the prompt. Same here with the accounts and contacts, and then we extract the invoice content. And then here, if we see the inputs, we can see that this is the file content, then the accounts, and finally, we have here the contacts. And if we review the outputs, we have some information here, but also here at the end, we have the invoice number, we have the company, the cost center, and the GL account. And if we compare that to the invoice, indeed, it's Linda, the one that's the contact person. And Linda is assigned to 9101 and 1010. And let's make sure those are the company and cost center. And the account was recognized as 501100. That belongs to this one, which is repairs and maintenance for vehicles. And you can see that it looks like that. So it seems like it was correctly recognized. So now it seems like our prompt is working. So we can just go back to edit or workflow. And here we can just create an item in SharePoint. And let's select our SharePoint side, the list name. And then it's going to recognize our fields. So here we need invoice number, company, cost center, amount, invoice amount, contact person, and notes in case it's not recognized. And here, once we start working with the prompts, you can see it automatically recognizes the information from the prompt, the output. So this is exactly the same output that we got here. So we can just select it. So the invoice number, it's going to be mapped to invoice. Company, it's going to be mapped company. Cost center is also going to be mapped to cost center, and so on. Okay, yeah, here it seems like I didn't create the column properly and I created it with the incorrect type. It seems like it's number, but let's copy it and paste it here and remove this. And contact person and notes in case they exist. So let's do notes and then we can save. And something important is that in this case, we are not saving a copy of the SharePoint file here, but we could, for example, extract a link and add it here in the SharePoint list. That depends a lot on the process that we want to have for the automation. So let's reload this because it looks really big and it's weird. So yeah, it depends on what you want to do. If you want to add the item as an attachment, if you want to create a link to the SharePoint folder, it depends on that. So for this one, we're just going to add the information and that's it. But we can do more things related to this process. And something really important is that if you're going to have more than a couple hundred of rows here, for example, more like 300 or 400, it's really important that you enable pagination for your action, because Excel has a limit of around 200 and something rows that it's going to bring automatically. And if you have more than that, you just need to go to select the action, go to settings, and then enable pagination and say, yeah, bring me up to 1,000 rows, and do the same for any table that you know will bring more than 250 something, because that's the limit that currently Excel has in Power Automate. You need to manually enable it, otherwise you will not be sending complete information to the prompt. So it's really important to keep it in mind. Okay, let's re-execute this one to make sure it works, and let's download again Melvin's invoice, which is this one, and let's make sure it works. Download, and then let's upload to the actual invoice folder to run the trigger, and then we'll be able to see it as well in SharePoint. So let's refresh this, and we can see again it was recognized correctly, and we have here the information. Let's just wait then for the next execution. Okay, it seems like it ran. So if we go to SharePoint here, we see that we have a company, cost center, account, and here it's telling us that it didn't find an invoice number. So I guess we could have a look. Yeah, indeed, it doesn't have an invoice number. So it makes sense. Maybe we could add something like in the prompt to indicate that if it doesn't find an invoice number, use the date or something like that, and the total for the invoice number. But that depends a lot on the process and internal policies and how we want to handle these exceptions. And this is how we can do some automation in GL coding assignment using a combination of or a chart of accounts or contacts with the companies, Power Automate, and AI prompts. I hope that this was useful for you. See you next time.